Well, last week, America celebrated the milestone of moving past at least half of the adult population here receiving one dose of vaccines in the race against COVID. But when we look back and reflect on the other side of that, still about half not in that camp, and pressure mounting when it comes to companies requiring mandated vaccinations. Lawsuits now popping up to defend against those mandates. And for more on that, I want to bring on Yahoo Finance's Alexis Keenan, who has the details and pressure mounting there. Alexis?
Hi, Zach. Yes, so the latest lawsuit comes from 117 unvaccinated staffers among 26,000 who are vaccinated of the Methodist Hospital Group. And they sued over the company's policy that was rolled out in March that said to their hospital workers that they'll be fired unless they get vaccinated. And that was on a rolling schedule. Now, the workers argue that they shouldn't be required to submit to the vaccination because it hasn't been fully FDA approved yet. They say the hospital's policy violates both Texas and federal law. And on the federal level, they say that there's a statute that requires people that they are required to have an option to either accept or refuse products that are under emergency use authorization, with which the vaccinations, of course, are. And also that law requires, they say, an explanation of the known benefits and risks of receiving that procedure, in this case, the vaccines. Now, in the complaint, the hospital workers, they say that the abbreviated timelines for the emergency use applications and authorizations means there is much the FDA does not know about these products, even as it authorizes them for emergency use, including their effectiveness against infection, death, and transmission of COVID-19. It goes on to call the vaccinations experimental, is what they say. And they say they're unlike the flu vaccines that have full FDA approval. Now, the suit also kind of inaccurately, at least that's what experts say, that's not coming from me, that they inaccurately describe the mRNA vaccines as gene modification injections. And critics also point out that this case is really similar to those that have been filed in North Carolina, Wisconsin, and New Jersey, where workers are saying that they don't want the vaccinations. But critics say that, look, this is the work of anti-vaccination advocates. But, you know, if we look at the CDC numbers, they're still continuing to track the number of COVID-19 related hospitalizations as well as deaths in fully vaccinated Americans. So I want to show you what that looks like. And this is why the companies are going to have to continue to be very careful about the decisions they make on mandatory versus not mandatory vaccines. Now, if we look at the CDC's number on deaths exclusively, and this is excluding those cases that are reported as asymptomatic and not COVID-related fatalities, and this data is taken every 2 weeks. So we go back to April 21st, and you can see there that in those cases, it was 112 deaths, and that was less than 1% of the 95 million Americans that had been vaccinated at that point. Jump to May the 10th there, 183 cases. Now that number goes to 13% of those reported cases, with 115 million Americans vaccinated. And finally, 368 deaths, most recently in the reporting on May 24th. So, Zach, the companies are going to have to be really careful about what they're doing here. And it looks like these lawsuits are continuing to kind of pile up here.
Yeah, and perhaps a lot of the reasons as to why some companies have tried to go the safer route and provide incentives to go out and get those vaccines, which is a little bit different there, maybe a little bit safer. But Alexis Keenan, appreciate you bringing us the update there.